You Orns. Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for another edition of the You Orns Friday Focus on Watford versus Queen's Park Rangers. The kickoff is tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. at Vicarage Road, and Vicarage Road welcomes the first championship game of the new season for your Golden Boys. That's right, the home opener in the championship is tomorrow, and Watford will want to build on what was, I thought, a very promising second half of football in an otherwise unfortunate defeat for Watford. They did not play well against Norwich City in the Carabao Cup in midweek after a really poor first half that really defined the result of the game. But the fight that the Watford players showed in the second half, our lads really looked very sharp in the second half, thanks in part and really in principle to the subs that came on the bench and galvanized the team to get back into the game, but they couldn't get back all the way. On the game tomorrow, there is a big challenge of playing a QPR side who, look, have not lost to Watford in a number of games now. It's got to be at least four or five. In fact, the last time I remember Watford beating Queen's Park Rangers, if I'm not mistaken, might have been when we beat them 4-0 a couple of seasons ago. I think that's the last time. That was the home opener a couple of years ago. And since then, we've not been able to beat them. And so actually, we may have beat them as well away from home with a 2-1 victory at Loftus Road in that very same season. But the bottom line is that we have since then not fared well against QPR. The West London outfit makes that short trip up to Hertfordshire, and they will have with them a new striker. Richard Kone signed this week, 22 years old, scored 21 goals for Wycombe Wanderers last season, and really can do a lot. He's a very versatile striker, and he does everything well, which is something that Watford are going to have to watch out for tomorrow. Watford, with their injury woes, actually getting better and better all the time, because Georgie could be very close to coming back. And look, Matty Pollock is trying to get back before the international break, which would be very encouraging. Rocco Vata is fit and could well be in the squad tomorrow, which would be a really good breath of fresh air, because we need him to augment what we already have in that forward line, that wing attack. And then, of course, there are other players who are coming along. And the other news for Watford is that we now have, or will soon have, another midfielder, and that is very encouraging as well. So, look, I believe his name is Vidrick, is his last name. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't want to get his name wrong. But Watford Observer today reported that we do have, or we're very close to signing, a new midfielder coming in from Udinese on a permanent deal. I think it's Sasha Vidrick, something like that. And anyway, we need him. I don't care what his name is. It's just good to have another midfielder. This is something I've been calling for during the week, that we need another midfielder. And obviously, Watford are addressing that issue. We'll find out when that deal becomes confirmed. I'm sure it will be very soon. But that's the reporting from the Watford Observer today. And the other thing is, in that report, there is also a central defender that Watford are looking to get as well. So that also is very promising. Now, that's not been confirmed yet, and that's still in the works. So that's a little further away from being done versus the Sasha Vidrick deal that's going to be permanent from Udinese, midfielder coming in. So very promising for Watford. Now, both of those obviously will come too late for tomorrow's game, but the point is that Watford are building their squad. And with the game that they showed us in the second half against Norwich City on Tuesday night, there are reasons to be optimistic. I do think that this game, despite QPR's really tricky approach, they are very tricky to deal with, QPR. They've got good defenders. They've also got some very plucky young players like Richard Kone, as I said, who was signed during the midweek. QPR are going to be a really difficult deal to handle at Vicarage Road tomorrow. But I do think Watford are going to get a point at least out of this game. I do think that's going to happen. I think Watford's still obviously a work in progress in the early going in this season. They do have some players who are beginning to ground themselves into shape as new boys here. Kevin, who's not really a new boy anymore, has been really one of the standouts in defense, despite some of the defensive difficulties. I think he's shown some leadership in the absence of Matty Pollock. Kevin's becoming a solid player. Jeremy Ngakia on the right hand side has been good as well. I think he's got off to a good start despite the penalty shout against Charlton last week. I still think that Ngakia has got off to a very good start this season at right back, looks very good. And also, we've seen some really good stuff from Nestori Irankunda. Very encouraged about him. And these are just a few of the players. Hector Cipriano has already begun to bed himself in and has played decently as well. You can see where the new boys are bedding in and taking shape, and it's still going to take some time to get everybody acclimatized and also to get acclimatized to a new manager with his new system of play, which I think Watford are beginning to show you. They did that in the second half against Norwich, and I think they'll do more of the same against QPR. Now, the test is to come into the QPR game the way they came into the second half of the Norwich game. And if Watford bring what they did in the second half against Norwich into the first half against QPR and into the second half against QPR, then I think it could be a very good day for Watford. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw tomorrow. It will be a draw, I think, between Watford and QPR. QPR come into Vicarage Road, again, having not lost in at least 2 years, I think it is now, close to 2 years at the Vic. And so that is going to be a challenge for Watford, but Watford have to come out well. We always say this because it's the same thing. Watford have to come out with intensity from the opening whistle and make sure that they do the things that they have to do at home, get the crowd on side. You don't want to be booed at halftime the way you were, like you were against Norwich. That's not good. You don't want any boos tomorrow. You want to hear cheers. You want to hear the fans behind you. Not like that, but you get the idea, right? Bottom line is that Watford have to win this game tomorrow, but I think they'll settle for, I think they'll get a draw. And I think I've got a wardrobe malfunction back here. This has been the You Orns Friday Focus.